Welcome to the first episode of Truth and Tunes, the podcast where we hear the truth about all the artists, their journey, their story, while we play some tunes. Listen to some of their tunes. So this is Truth and Tunes, and my first guest today, on my first episode ever, is the one, the only, Mr. David.
Yeah. Good day. Check.
Mr. David, welcome.
What's good?
It's been a long time coming.
Long time.
Now I know Mr. David many years.
Lots of years.
We can't even count. Probably go over 20 years back.
Sure right.
So Mr. David, we're here to tell the people the truth about your journey in this entertainment industry. Mr. David is a well-known soca artist out here in Baltimore. That's where we are right now. Baltimore, Maryland.
Big up.
Right. They call him the number one soca artist in Baltimore, the soca ambassador.
Yeah.
Mr. David, but we all know you reside in Baltimore now, but you were born and raised in
Trinidad and Tobago.
So tell us about your story. Tell us where you're from, what school you went to, tell us how this journey started.
Well, I'm from Trinidad and Tobago, South Trinidad, Library. Big up the Library people. Went to school, South San Fernando. Went to Open Bible High School. Studied business. After Open Bible, I went to Technical Institute where I studied engineering. Got a degree in engineering.
Oh, nice.
And from there, I actually started working for the company called Detroit Diesel.
Okay, and that's based where?
That's in South Trinidad also.
Okay.
Was building engines. And from there, I moved on to working offshore as an engineer.
So David is a South man, and of course, most South people like to get in the oil.
Yeah.
Right? So he was at Detroit Diesel, and of course, like you said, he moved to offshore. So how did you get from being an engineer into being a musician?
Well, I've always been into music no matter what since growing up. My father, who was a DJ.
Oh, nice.
So every weekend, he just playing his little calypso music and just playing music non-stop. So I always been into that.
What was your father's DJ name?
Fire Chief.
Fire Chief, so shout out to Fire Chief.
Yeah.
The real OG.
The OG Fire Chief.
So, your father being your influence musically,
Correct.
You're listening to the old soca, I guess would have been the old reggae and everything.
Everything from Gregory Isaac to Percy Sledge, to name it. Anything old school, he was playing it.
So what made you decide to get into the music though? Like what led you into becoming an artist?
Well, I've always been that guy who wants to be in the spotlight. Always want to see myself on a stage. Always believe that one day I'm going to make that stage and perform for a crowd and have them singing something that I was right there on the stage performing.
So who were your inspirations at that point in time in Trinidad, like local artists, looking at them and saying, I want to be like that?
Well, I would say Wayne Rodriguez.
Do you all remember Wayne Rodriguez? The Footsteps man?
Footsteps on the ground.
Slampetada?
Yes.
So what made Wayne Rodriguez stand out among everyone else?
Well, he was also from Library.
Oh.
And one time I went to a Soca Fete, and of course he was with the band Ecstatic.
With Marshall Montano.
So that was like an honor for me to see him on the stage doing his thing, knowing we from the same neighborhood.
All right, so it gave you that confidence that you could go too. So what was that aha moment when you saw him on stage and decided, well, you know what, this is going to be me?
Well, it was a fete I went to in, I believe it was a Rima Velodrome.
Okay.
And you know how Ecstatic, they had that energy with them. So, they always calling people up on stage, to whine and dance and do the thing. It was always a whining competition.
Right, that's Marshall for you.
Yeah. So, I found myself...
on stage?
I found myself on stage. And I actually won the competition.
Oh, wow. Wow. So, were you trying to say that whine about it from a long time? You was competing against Marshall or you was outlining Marshall?
Well, somebody had to try.
So, you won the competition. And what happened next?
Then after that, well, Wayne recognized who I was.
Right. Knowing that they're from the same neighborhood.
Right. So after that, he started telling me, well, come to this party, hang out with them. And they started rolling with them.
You enter a dancing competition on stage. They like your vibe. They ask you to start a roll with them. But how you end up in a studio?
Well, after he sang Footsteps, I was actually doing back vocals for him in his shows and stuff. When he performed in Soca Monarch, I was actually on the stage as a dancer for him.
Wow.
So you're on the stage and you're looking at that crowd, about 10,000 people, and you see everybody chanting and stuff. That had me feeling like that is where I needed to be.
Right. So you didn't want to be in the background. You want to be on the front line.
You're sure right.
Right. Front line. Shameless plug. Big up Frontline Radio.
Frontline Radio. Big up Clean Lord.
So you wanted to be on the front line. So tell me about your first moment then coming from behind the stage, being a dancer, singing background vocals, and being in a studio.
Well, the first studio I actually went to was in Chigona's Gypsy Studio.
Gypsy Studio. Now, that's where me and Dave meet.
That's about over 20 years.
Yeah, like 25 years ago or something, right?
Yeah.
So I would have met you at Gypsy Studio way back when with Wayne Rodriguez.
Yes.
Right, and I actually sang some background vocals on some of Wayne Rodriguez tracks too with Mr. David.
Correct.
Yeah, so the first studio you came to would have been Gypsy Studio, Winston Peters, the great calypsonian.
Yes.
And you would have done what there at that time? Background vocals only, or did you do any of your own tracks?
Well, at that time I was doing background vocals there. Then it would have times that Wayne would leave to go home. And the producer and engineer, Sean Merez. Big
up Sean Merez.
Yeah. He would tell me, stick around. And then he would start showing me certain things, and he actually put me in the booth. Let me record a little verse, and then he was like, hey, you know what you're doing.
Right.
So that built up my confidence more.
Right.
And then it just started right there.
So what would have been the first track that you actually recorded a verse on that was professionally done and released?
The first track I actually put my voice on as far as singing was a song called Hot Boys.
Hot Boys. I think I remember that track.
Yeah, with Sean Merez, Colin Morris,
Roger Dickey,
Roger,
and Phil Hill.
Yep, correct.
Right, that was Wonderbag Productions.
Yes.
That was the original Bread Boys too, with Peter C. Lewis and Mr. part of, right, from Party Time days.
Yep.
Alright, big up the old Bread Boys crew. So that Hot Boys would have been your first track. What happened following Hot Boys? What was the next move? Did you do any performances?
Yeah, after we recorded Hot Boys, we actually went on a tour, a Pepsi tour, around Trinidad and all the schools.
The school tour?
The school tour, the Pepsi school tour.
I think that was Coca-Cola school tour.
It was Coca-Cola?
Yeah, I think it was Coca-Cola school tour.
That's so long ago. And the performances on there, I was amazed. So that confidence started building up more and more, seeing people screaming. And
I think as an artist at that age, performing in the school tours and then being young and getting your first moments, that's when you really see that the fans who are the girls.
Yes.
When you see them girls, them screaming, that makes you feel like, hey, I want to keep doing this, right?
Correct.
So after the school tour, what happened next?
Well, after that, I kind of just went back into the studio doing back vocals for Wayne Rodriguez.
Right.
Doing little tours with him around the Caribbean and in Trinidad. And after that, I realized, well, I wasn't young no more.
Right.
So, you have responsibilities and stuff. So I started I went back offshore.
Okay. Start back to work.
Yeah.
Right. And one of the challenges of being a recording artist, especially, in Trinidad and probably in everywhere where you're trying to have this as a career, there's always this challenge of having to be an employee, having to pay the bills, and the music ain't paying those bills.
Correct.
And you have to be juggling between jobs and music and then debating which is the lifestyle you really want, And then, of course, if you're still living in your parents' house, trust me, you gotta get a walk.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Right.
Sometimes your parents would tell you, focus on your education and focus on getting a job and everything. But I was like, yeah, I could do that and still do my music and stuff. And it was like, nah, one had to come first.
Right. And I mean, you have a degree in engineering, so they ain't trying to hear about no music.
Right.
I mean, not even sound engineering they want to hear.
Even at a
Because I'm a sound engineer, and trust me, they ain't trying to hear that either.
Right. Even at a time I'm working offshore, my ship came into port. It was around Carnival time. Mm-hmm. And I knew the ship was going to stay there for these 2 days. And I got dressed and left and went to Soca Monarch.
Wow. So you run away?
I run away. Wayne was right by the gate there waiting for me, picked me up, and we went to the shows.
Wow.
And then dropped me right back.
So, moving on then. School tour, still singing background vocals, having to decide to go back to the Red Line. You know, but today there's a big international soca artist, so how did we get to this point then? What happened next? Now we're in Baltimore, Maryland, as I said, right? We're in the USA. How did you end up in America?
Well, after building myself up as an engineer, I was always looking for a challenge. So I wanted to advance myself. And you know, Trinidad has a certain level you can't cross.
Right.
So I took it up on myself to relocate to the USA. And by relocating, I wanted to try something different.
Right.
So I pushed myself into joining the US Coast Guard.
All right. So let's pause on that for a little bit and we get back to this point. Taking a break, guys.
Yeah.
We'll be right back at you. Let's take in some tunes from Mr. David on Truth and Tunes.
Yes.
They say mind your fetting business. Yeah. I come to tell you what I fetting witness. You come in the fet, like if COVID left. Yeah. You're marking every girl you feel like if it's a test. If she looking best, well I feeling blessed. But when she turn around, the girl facing a mess. Whoa. Drink your rum and wash your mouth and mind your fetting business. Yeah. Drink your rum and wash your mouth and mind your fetting business. Drink your rum and wash your mouth and mind your fetting business. Drink your rum and wash your mouth and mind your fetting business. You come here to party, not to watch you whining on who. You come here to party, not to watch you jamming on who. You come here to party, not to watch you whining on who. You come here to party, not to watch you jamming on who.
Welcome back. Now you're enjoying the music. Truth and Tunes. So Mr. David, so we're going to go into this journey of you coming to America like Eddie Murphy. How did this happen?
Well, I just made that decision to migrate here because I wanted to advance myself in engineering.
Right.
So that's why I came here, looked into working for Detroit Diesel, and that's when 9/11 happened.
Oh.
So I had to rearrange my plans. And then I just started working a regular job until things got better, and then took myself into the US Coast Guard as an engineer.
Tell us about that experience, you know, making that decision. What motivated the decision other than having to rearrange due to 9/11 and having to look for a regular job? What made you decide, well, hey, I want to be in the military?
Well, coming from working offshore, you know, you're working on the water. Mm-hmm. So the Coast Guard, same thing, working on the water.
Right.
I always was in the engine room. So I told myself, you know what, I needed to try this. And also taking myself there, I wanted to discipline myself.
Right.
Have a certain discipline for myself, also learn and educate myself a little more.
So how long did you spend in the military, in the Coast Guard, and what was the experience like in the U.S. Coast Guard?
Well, I only stayed there for 6 years.
Okay.
And the experience in there, it was good. Got myself where I needed to be, and I matured myself.
So being an engineer in the Coast Guard, what did that entail? I mean, you still had to be a gunman, or were you still going out to war? Or were you just there,
I wasn't going to
operating on
war.
machinery?
I was more like, operating vessels, doing repairs on ships. I was also a boarding officer. So, when you had little runs on the water, you the one the little bulletproof vest, you had your little piece with you, and you boarding vessels, doing searches,
Right.
these type of things.
Okay, so if you intercept a ship, you'll be on board.
Yeah.
Right. Understood. And you spent 6 years there.
Yeah.
So coming out of the U.S. military, I'm looking at the journey, from Gypsy Studio to background vocals with Wayne Rodriguez and coming to America. At what point did you give yourself the name Mr. David, right? And decide, what, this is it full time for me?
The name Mr. David came about, I want to say, my personality.
Right.
So, anywhere I go, everybody was like, hey, look, Mr. David. I guess it's the way I care about myself, my personality,
So
the
it's
way
like
I dress.
a form of respect they have for you.
Yeah.
Right.
So the name just stuck with me.
All right, so now you're rolling with the name Mr. David, right? So you're a solo artist.
Yeah.
Tell me, when was your first performance as a solo artist?
My first performance as a solo artist was in a hotel called Belvedere Hotel.
And where was that located?
Right here in Baltimore, 13th floor, Belvedere Hotel, yeah.
Okay. Oh, that was around what year?
That was like 12 years ago.
Wow. So you started off as a solo artist in Baltimore,
Yes.
right? What song was that you would have had at that time? What was your first solo recording?
At that time, it was the first song I did called Teaser.
All right, who produced that song?
Just Can.
Who's Just Can? Tell us about Just Can. We got linked up with Just Can.
Just Can was a producer from out of DC.
Okay.
I got introduced to him by DJ Axe out of Baltimore here.
All right. And Just Can did your first track, Teaser. How well did Teaser do?
Teaser did pretty. I was amazed of how well it did, because when I did Teaser, I got it to a DJ called Mr. Music,
All right.
and Mr. Music got it to all the other DJs out here in Maryland. Then he got it to the radio stations in Maryland here, and it just went clear from there.
Right. So I guess you were being requested and you did your first performance.
Yes.
All right. What followed after that first performance? I mean, yes, you had a great reception. You had a good first single. What happened next?
Well, after that, I wanted to actually try to see how far I could take the song. So then I had a friend, Tammy Springer.
I remember Tamara Springer.
Tamara Springer, who introduced me to a DJ in Canada.
Okay.
And she got the track to him. Then he got the track to his production team in Europe. And then they reached out to me, hey, would you want to be interviewed on one of our radio stations in Europe? And I said, sure. And got my interview where the song actually made #1 in Europe for their carnival season that year.
Look at that. So big up Tammy Spring. I think she goes by the name Queen Ori now.
Yes.
Right. Big up Tammy Spring for that big link up. That's how artists are supposed to be helping each other in this industry. How did you get to know Tammy Spring though?
Well, I've known Tammy for as long as I've known you.
Wow.
We kind of grew up in the same neighborhood.
Nice.
So the connection was always there, seeing your friends all over. And she was also into music.
Right, and she moved to the US also at that time.
Yes.
All right. You're telling me that Teaser, your first single, was also the #1 in Europe, right?
Yeah.
So imagine having such a great start, for the first time, as a solo artist.
Yeah.
Right. So how did things progress from that? What was your second song? And, how did you start growing the industry?
With the success from Teaser, Just kind of reached out to me again and said he had a song called Afraid of You.
Okay.
And went down there once again and listened to the song, made a little changes and rearranged it, and kind of used the song as an anthem for a Juve group out in Trinidad, in South Trinidad, called the Black Mambas.
Wow.
So if you heard the song, you would hear in the song it's saying Black Mambas, afraid of you. I'm afraid of you. So that was once again another success.
And this one made it to Trinidad.
Yes.
Right. How did it feel, leaving Trinidad after all those years, starting in the school tours and things back there, and now full circle, having a song that is making waves in Trinidad? How did that feel?
That was, to be honest, I wasn't really expecting that.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess due to people liking the song, people started requesting the song, and it just did its own thing.
So that was your second track.
Yeah.
I mean, I think right now you have countless amount, right?
I lost track.
You lost track, right? So tell me, what happened next? What was the next move after having another successful single? How we on the journey of you becoming the Soca ambassador in Baltimore, being considered the number one Soca artist in Baltimore, right? Working with Just Can in the beginning of your career. I understand that eventually you were even signed to a management team and everything.
Yeah.
Tell us how you got to that point.
Well, after being interviewed on the radio station in Europe, one of the CEOs of the radio station actually had a label where he actually reached out to me and said, hey, I want to sign you to my label and stuff.
Wow. You see how things has happened, people. Mm-hmm.
So I've been signed to them for like over 11 years.
Wow. So just a point to artists in Trinidad, this is how the journey is, It's not always, how they put it, a bed of roses, but there's always successes along the way. Nobody's just, as much as we complain about fight down and stress and no lack of airplay and all these things, right? You can see Mr. David, after leaving Trinidad, was still able to find success in Baltimore, in Europe, and he's continuing to expand as we go along. So this is living proof that there are opportunities out there and you can still make it, right? So signing with this label, what was the name of the label?
CO2 Production.
CO2 Productions?
Yeah.
So how did you grow from that point? Tell us a little bit about where that took you.
Well, as I say, over 11 years with them, so I had to been doing something good.
Right.
So signing with them, it gave me a home. So they didn't just consider me as an artist. I actually evolved in different things with them, and they taught me how to grow as an individual, and it wasn't just about music.
So you didn't just find a label, you found a family.
Yes.
Right. So what was the next track?
I think the next track was Show Some Love.
Show Some Love was a big one. I remember Show Some Love. You came to Trinidad to shoot a music video for Show Some Love.
Correct.
About 2015 or 14 somewhere. I think it was about 2014.
Yeah.
Right? And I had the privilege of shooting that music video. We went up to San Fernando
Hills.
Yeah. That was an excellent time. I really enjoyed shooting that video. So tell us what happened with Show Some Love then.
The success I got from Show Some Love was overwhelmed because I actually ended up in couple of the radio stations, being interviewed. I think I was on 105, some other radio stations I was on.
In Trinidad?
Yeah.
And I understand you also did a remix for Show Some Love.
Show Some Love have about 4 or 5 remixes.
Wow, look at that. So tell us about the remixes. I know there were some big names in the remixes.
Yeah. With the success on Show Some Love, once again in Europe, it made success where a producer actually gave it that European feeling. Mm-hmm. So that was one remix there. Mm-hmm. There was other remixes where people did like the road mix.
Right.
Then I had DJ Future out of Queens, New York. He did his own remix on it also.
Right. And I also understand that they had a famous rock star doing a remix also.
Correct. Walker, Mr. Walker.
And those of you who remember Walker from his remixes with Marsha Montano.
Yes.
I think it was Can You Give Yourself Away?
Correct.
With or Without You. right? So imagine coming full circle from seeing Marshall Montano them on stage with Wayne Rodriguez back in the day, dancing and trying competition with Marshall Montano on stage, and now working with people that he's working with, right? International rock stars. How was that experience? How did you get linked up with Walker?
Well, I think when I did Show Some Love, I think I recorded the vocals in Brooklyn with Cody Chat.
Right.
Cody Chat, because DJ Future is the one who built the beat for it.
Okay.
So when I reached out to Cody Chat now, he was like, hey, I have somebody who could give you a nice little flavor on it. And I was like, who? And he said, Walker. I'm like, Walker who?
Mm-hmm.
Then when he told me who it was, I'm like, Walker willing to put a verse on this?
Wow.
And he said, yeah, he loved the track. And he's just keep talking about this track. So I said, go ahead, do your thing. And they did their thing.
Wow. And have you ever had a chance to perform it alongside Walker?
No.
Mm-hmm.
No, not as yet.
So that's something we look forward to seeing happening sometime, right?
Yes. He actually reached out to me. He had a concert out in some beach out in New York. Mm-hmm. But due to work and stuff, I wasn't able to make it because that's a 4-hour drive for me to get out there.
Yeah.
So still in the making.
Right, possibilities.
Yeah.
All right, so we're talking about Show Some Love. All right, and we're going to take another break and we'll be right back. Taking some more of Mr. David's tunes. And we'll coming back soon with Truth and Tunes.
Hey, when you rock someday, when you hands someday, when you flock someday, put them up, put them up, put them up, push them up, put them up, put them up, put them up, push them up. Ranks so high to the sky. I want you with them ranks up high, so high to the sky. I want you with them ranks up high. Carnival Monday, Tuesday, happiness in the air. We celebrating the biggest festival of the year. We don't want no violence inside the session. You representing, show me all your hands on everybody. Throw your rags up, put your flags up, throw your hands up, and show some love. Throw your rags up, put your flags up, push your hands up, and show some love. Put your rags up, everybody in the party. Find somebody. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Everybody in the party. Find somebody. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Let me see your rag in the air. Let me see your flag in the air. Let me see your rag in the air. Let me see your flag in the air. Let's rise up, my people. Unite to be stand. We gotta come together, spread love in the land. We come out to party, we come to have fun. So bring your girl and drinks and leave your